matters sometimes. Other times, it doesn't matter so much. It depends upon which way you need to look on any given day. So it is when God transports Ezekiel in this vision to the valley of dry bones, God doesn't ask, why is it like this, Ezekiel? What happened? What went wrong? Tell me about how we got to this point. God says, can these dry bones live? What does the future hold? Why Jesus didn't go to his friend Lazarus immediately when he was sick, but waited a couple days, hung around where he was before going down to Lazarus, isn't the critical thing today. By the time Jesus reaches Lazarus' tomb, he asks another question. Will you roll away the stone? Will you believe what's about to happen? That I am resurrection and I am life. That question that God asked Ezekiel, that question that Jesus asks the people about rolling away the stone, that's the question that God is asking us today, I believe. It has been an especially brutal winter. It's hard to remember that when we wake up and go outside on a beautiful day like today. But it has been a brutal winter, not just the temperature. It's been a difficult winter for us as Grace United Methodist Church in some ways. I notice it when we gather on Wednesday nights for soup. And I think about those people that aren't with us. We've had so many people who've moved into different settings, moved out of their own homes, who've given up their cars, some who've passed away. The list, oh, I have the list. I don't see June Gustafson and Dwayne and Dolores and Mary Ann and Betty and Tom and Janet and Jim and Betty and Dale and Charlie, but it is good to see you here this morning. It was good to see Shirley and Grant last week. We hadn't seen them at the soup suppers until last week. Now that Shirley is starting to do better. And there's Ilo and Clara and Vi who have let go of their homes. And then there are others who we've been lifting up in our prayers who are battling with cancer or other struggles of life. And then we had 2 funerals at the beginning, well, just a month or so ago, of people who were dear to us. And we kept adding prayer concerns to our list. It's been a rough winter. It could be described, I guess, as the winter of dry bones in some ways, or of too many health challenges and losses. It could be the winter of fearing what comes next for this congregation. Could be. And I've thought of that. And then last week came around. And last week in worship, there were 97 people. In spite of all those that we've named that are not able to be here. Now, 16 of those were children. They can't necessarily pay the bills, children can, but 16 of those were children. How wonderful. How hopeful. What a sign that means. In my heart, anyway. Last Sunday, over $460 was given to One Great Hour of Sharing. Last Sunday, $520 was given to Imagine No Malaria, another one of our mission pieces. Last Sunday, $500 was contributed to the food shelf mission of this community. Last Sunday, $240 more was given toward our first mile mission giving apportionments. If you're tracking, that comes to last Sunday, $1,720 was given by those 97 people toward mission beyond ourselves. And that tells me where the heart of this congregation, or at least a lot of this congregation, lies. That fills me with hope. Last Sunday, we had guests, as we've been having more of. 4 of them Checked, I want to learn more about being a member. 4, it's been a long time since I've seen a check about I'd like to be a member. Please contact me. And that'll be this next week, making some contacts. That's why we have these little notes in the bulletin. In case there's others that want to check that, or others that have joined but really haven't had a chance to connect with others who are new to the congregation. That's part of the reason for these. If you joined recently, in the last year or two, and want to connect with some others who are interested, write that on this note too. And I'll put all my green notes together and start calling, and then we'll set up a time that I can meet with all of you. Last Sunday, Stephanie came up to me after church, and I thought, this is a good thing, because I wanted to talk with Stephanie about something. The week before, I've been thinking, we have quite a few kids, and they're at that age range where it'd be really nice to do some overnight experience with them. Maybe in the church, whatever. That bonds elementary kids together. It prepares them to become for one another a community. Middle school comes next, and middle school can be a challenge. And how nice it is when kids have a place where they can go, where they know they are loved and cared for, and whatever happened in middle school during the week, they have a place where they have these friends that are their support. I was thinking it'd be really nice if we could have some overnight experience. And Stephanie didn't let me get a chance to ask that question. You know Stephanie. She said, Mackenzie and I have been talking, and we've been thinking, wouldn't it be nice, well, what do you think? We'd like to take the kids to Northern Pines for one overnight night, where we'd have campfire together, and where we'd bond, and where we'd sing, and where we'd eat, and where we'd learn about God's love. And then these little kids would know where Northern Pines was. They'd feel more comfortable going there. We could take parents if children weren't comfortable going there the first time, so parents could be nearby and supportive. Wow. That's a God thing, when somebody comes up to you and says what you've been kind of thinking already, and it just happens. And then I was at Northern Pines this week for District Committee on Ordained Ministry, interviewing others, candidates and such. And Friday morning, Bob comes up to me and says, somebody from your church called, and we've already got a date in place. And I said, oh, wonderful. Wonderful. I thought I was going to have to talk to Bob, who's the director at Northern Pines that day, and just plant a little seed and tell him somebody would be calling and see what was there on the calendar. And by Friday morning, it was already set up. Hopeful. Wonderful. Last week was a good week. I didn't have any time to really prepare a sermon. I don't know if you know that. But God was preparing the sermon all week. I was gone basically 3 days. But God was sending all these signs that remind us of the possibility of life, that ask us, will we roll away the stone? Sometimes I think when we do glimpse our greatest fears, when we glimpse death, when we glimpse the things that make us worry, we glimpse what could be. And then God comes and offers a sign of what God hopes. And it's so much larger and so much more wonderful. I don't think Jesus came and accepted death just so we could hold out here at Grace Church long enough to do a few more funerals and say goodbye to the community. I believe Jesus died so that we might have abundant life. I'm not sure why Jesus didn't go right away when he heard Lazarus was sick, but I am sure that when he arrived, life came with him. And Lazarus was resuscitated, as we heard from the choir singing, breathe on me, breath of God. God is wanting to breathe into us new resurrection.